WVUA-FM, Tuscaloosa.
Hello. Welcome back to the student section on 90.7 The Capstone. I'm your host, Connor Rowles, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jaylon Brooks. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I was off last week, but I'm here this week. I fully recovered from the Phillies loss, so I think I'm back and I'm ready to talk some sports.
Yeah, it's been a tough road. MLB free agency just started, what was it, yesterday?
Yep.
And so I'm ready for us to get Trey Turner and a lot of other people.
That is so okay. I know that they lost the Super Bowl. Excuse me. I know that they lost the World Series, but at least the next day, it was somewhat good news to wake up to. But I mean, still disappointing. But hey, if we get Trey Turner, that kind of makes up for it. Not fully, but kind of. But and other than that, I'm doing good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Well, it sucks that Brady can't join us today. He's out with a sickness, so we'll hopefully see him next week. But let's start things off with that Thursday night football game last night against it was the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons. What did you think of that?
Well, all right. So if you're a football fan, obviously you've been following the theme that Thursday night games are terrible, and
usually, yes.
This game falls into that category as well. It was pretty bad. Not more of a defensive game than offensive game, if you want to say that, if you can even see that. But the final score being 25-15, Panthers taking the W. There's really not really a lot I want to talk about this game because it was just kind of a drag. But there are some questions that we do have to kind of ask. PJ Walker hasn't really looked bad for them, and I mean obviously PJ Walker is not like a franchise quarterback, but they're winning games with him, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, if they're winning games with PJ Walker, what does this mean for Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, Baker Mayfield might be done in the NFL. I know you were saying that he might get another chance somewhere else, but after this, there's not much you can do. You had probably a easy win for the starting job, which you ended up winning, but you couldn't keep that starting job. Not because you were just injured, because I know he got injured one week, but
right, he
wasn't able to pull away from the pack of P.J. Walker or Sam Darnold.
And that's saying something.
So I don't think he'll have another chance in the NFL, honestly.
I think, for me, as a number one pick, and we were talking the same with Josh Rosen a little bit earlier, I feel like Josh Rosen wasn't ever truly given a true proper chance because he goes to like a team like Arizona that like literally had nothing on offense, no O-line, and then for one season, then they draft Kyler, and then they ship him to Miami, and the next thing you know, same thing happens over there, no O-line, whatever, and then they draft Tua, and now I think he was with the 49ers as a backup quarterback or as a practice squad quarterback, and now he's cut. So I think Baker will kind of probably get like the same kind of treatment in a way, as in terms of he'll definitely get another chance to compete for a starting spot, or at least a backup spot. As for a starting quarterback in the NFL, I'm probably with you on that point. Like, I don't know if he'll ever be starting again in the league, but I still think he'll have a chance to like at least fight for a spot because, as we know, the quarterback situation. You look at Geno Smith. Everyone thought Geno Smith was done, but hey, he found a situation that worked for him, and he never stopped riding the league. But same case could be made for Baker because. He won the Heisman. He got the Browns to the playoffs. His first rookie year he was held back. I still think he was held back by Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I feel like he was held back there, and then ever since then it was downhill. I think he started feeling himself a little bit too much and started just talking too much. But a lot of distractions for him, a lot of injuries. So it's going to be interesting. I think he'll definitely get another shot. But as far as a starting quarterback in the league. It's tough to see. I can't really see. All these teams that we say we need a quarterback, they don't really need a quarterback. Like, you look at the Lions, I think you can stick with Jared Goff if you don't assess that in the draft. What other teams really need a quarterback? Like the Saints, maybe?
Panthers.
Exactly. Like, it's just like, maybe, but I think they're going to try to assess everything in the draft, like all these teams that need a quarterback.
Yeah, but you were saying Josh Rosen. Yeah, he never got a chance to actually prove himself, so he kept going from team to team, never really got into a rhythm and was just out of the league in a couple years. But you look at Baker, he has had a time to grow and just make a name for himself with the Cleveland, which his first and third year were pretty good years, but you look at that defense, they were good defensively.
Right.
They had a lot of weapons with Odell, Jarvis, all them. You had Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, so You can't say he didn't have any weapons.
That's true. Yeah.
But I just don't see him. I think he's done in the NFL. If not, then he'll probably be like a backup or like a Joe Flacco role now where he's just on the team to be on the team. But yeah, no, there's nothing else you can do from him. But sticking with the Panthers, we were talking about P.J. Walker is looking better and how he's getting a chance to shine. What about Dante Foreman, the running back? Last night he put up, let me see, I think I had it up here.
158?
Yeah, he had 31 carries for 130 yards and a touchdown. So I know last year he was signed by the Falcons at the beginning of the season, and they cut him, and then the Titans ended up picking him up, and then he went to the Panthers. So it was sweet little revenge getting all those touches against the Falcons. What do you think about his season so far?
I think he's having a great season. I think, as far as the past couple of weeks, but honestly, what a story that for him it's kind of been. Like you said, it was cut by Atlanta, then picked up for the Titans when Derrick Henry went down for that little stretch. I think when he broke his foot or something last season. And now he's just making the most of this Christian McCaffrey trade. I thought the Panthers were going to be kind of dead in the water, especially on the running game, but especially since after that trade.
They look pretty good right now.
Yeah, that's
ever since that trade.
Yeah, they've been. It's like they kind of figured out their offense a little bit more, which is surprising to say. We never thought we'd be saying about that. The Panthers, like when we were just saying they might have the number one pick a couple weeks ago. And which is still so funny to me. Last week they were like number 2 in like mock drafts for like the pick, but now they're still like a game out from like winning the division. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a crazy for that team. But as far as Dante Foreman, 5th year out of Texas, this dude is balling. You got to give him props though for making a name for himself. And it seems like not only just that, it seems like all the players on this team, all the leaders are fighting for their head coach.
Yeah,
Steve Wilkos, I think.
Wilkes.
Wilkes. I'm thinking of Wilkos from the NBA. Excuse me. But yeah, Steve Wilkes, and which is my question to you. Do you think if you're Carolina, are you still like searching for? I mean, you're definitely not pulling a Colts and pulling a Jeff Saturday.
Oh,
which is
no.
a whole another situation we can get into. But do you think the Panthers should stick with Steve?
No, I don't see that happening. You look at last year, a lot of the interim coaches that are hired during the middle of the season, they don't last till next year because it's not their guy that they want.
Right.
Like last year, when the Raiders fired John Gruden, and I forget the
Rich Biago or something.
It was something like that, a really hard name to pronounce. He stepped in for the coach for the Raiders, and he actually brought them to the playoffs. So we all thought that he was going to remain head coach, but actually they didn't keep him. He went somewhere else, and then also they hired Josh McDaniels, who has not been good this year. So I'm saying maybe sometimes they should stick with the interim head coach,
right.
But the history with that interim label, they don't stick around with the franchise for that long, so I really don't see him staying for the Panthers.
And that's why I asked that question, is because of that Raiders interim coach. Because if you looked at the Raiders last year, they were balling under their interim
They were,
coach.
yes,
they
were.
Respected him. And his name is Bisaccia. I can't say his last name.
Yeah.
It's Rich Bisaccia. He actually went to the Packers.
Gotcha. Isn't he a special teams guy now? Yeah.
He's on Packers, which is unfortunate for him because I don't think that got much better for him, the situation he's in.
No.
But I think he was definitely a guy who was kind of deserving to give it a chance for the head coach spot, especially since he held it down, especially with all the Raiders stuff they were dealing with last offseason. Last year. They had so many distractions, and the way that he just controlled the locker room and controlled the players and had them ready for each game, way different than what we're seeing now, especially under Josh McDaniels. I think Josh McDaniels is done.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at Josh McDaniels' record, this guy has been given multiple opportunities to become the guy as a head coach,
and he's never been able to do it.
And he can't do it. I think he's just one of those guys that is. He's not a leader.
He's a good coordinator, but he needs someone else to actually take the reins.
Right, and that's what they're probably going to give him another chance though, but we'll see. I think the Colts though, I really do think the Colts are going to stick with this decision because it's such a bold move. Jeff Saturday, for y'all who don't know, Jeff Saturday was hired this past week as the interim head coach of the Colts after firing Frank Reich. Frank Reich spent 5 seasons with the Colts, and first couple of years pretty good, and then of course with the quarterback carousel did not help his case. Of course, you had Phillip Rivers and then Carson Wentz, now Sam Ehlinger, just all over the place, but. It's kind of interesting to see a guy like Jeff Saturday, who's in the Colts Ring of Honor, who's on NFL Live or NFL TV every day, and you can see he's always so passionate when he's talking about football, and you can see that he's a charismatic guy. So you can see where the idea of him being a head coach comes from. Mm-hmm. But that's just a bold move. No coaching experience at all except for high school and not a winning record.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, you look at he's never coached before higher than the high school level. He was a high school coach last season, and they ended their record with 3-7. Yep. So I don't think, of course, he's a great NFL guy. There's a lot of preparation that goes into the NFL head coach job that people don't see. And they've had so many rules in place for other people to not get the job and stuff like that, where they need coaching experience, be able to lead, be able to call plays, do all this stuff. And they go out and hire Jeff Saturday for some whatever reason, who even in his high school, he can't coach high school apparently because they went 3-7.
Right.
So that kind of baffles me for a second. I don't know what Irsay's doing with this. And then also they hired a 30-year-old offensive coordinator who's never called plays before. So I don't know if they just want to tank and try and get a quarterback, I really don't know.
It's a weird situation only because it's because everyone thought before last season, before they got Carson Wentz, they almost made the playoffs last season, so technically you can throw that in there too. If they had won that Jags game last year, they could have made the playoffs. But I think a lot of people were coming into the season expecting them to at least compete. I know a lot of people weren't high on Matt Ryan. That's I
actually was very high on the Colts this year.
Right, and I feel like most people were, and then now you're just hiring a brand new head coach, and now even though you felt like you were contenders, it's a weird kind of setback. And then you're right, this is going to be so weird for this offseason because the NFL is really going to have to take a look at this Rooney Rule because
it looks like it doesn't even matter anymore.
Exactly, and it's I don't want to give them too much smack for that hire, especially with the Rooney Rule, because with the Colts, if you do look at the record, they hired Tony Dungy, which was pretty big back in the day, and then when Noah Caldwell got fired from the Lions, when he was actually winning with the Lions, they were the first team to give him a job as soon as he got fired. So just interesting, and I don't know. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I don't really agree with it. But let's get back to the Thursday Night Football game, and let's talk about the Falcons. Mm-hmm. Let's get on that side of the boat. So last night, Marcus Mariota did not have a good game. He put out a late drive to make it a closer game than usual, but he still didn't have a great game. He had an interception, two touchdowns. But there was one play that was almost an interception, but he got ruled down when he got sacked. And he was just falling backwards and threw it. Luckily, his back hit the ground, and he threw a horrible pick. So it was ruled a sack, da-da-da-da-da. But I've heard some rumbling with the Falcons fans and everything. Do you think it's time for Desmond Ridder to get a chance?
I mean, clearly the Falcons aren't really competing for anything. I mean, I guess not true. They're one game away from the division, which is so funny to say that because it feels like they're not really competing for anything if you look at their roster. Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, just keep rebuilding. I think, I get what you're trying to do because you're trying to, still install that winning culture, and I get that. But if you feel it really depends. I don't know if they feel like Desmond Ridder's the guy because I don't know. Maybe they won't view him as a project quarterback and he still needs to learn some more. I just really don't know, what direction the Falcons are heading in. That's why it's so uneasy to answer that question because I still think it's clear that Marcus Mariota is not the answer for their quarterback troubles. Mm-hmm. But I think they took Desmond Ridder in the third round. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it was third round.
So if you have an early first round pick and let's say 10, and you can get one of these top prospect quarterbacks, it'd be hard not to take a look at it because what do you think that team needs more? Besides a quarterback position.
Wide receivers, they need weapons. Right. They have Kyle Pitts, who they don't really throw to. Their running backs,
which makes no
besides
sense.
Cordell Patterson, it's pretty lackluster. And their wide receivers, besides Drake London.
That's pretty much it. They just traded away Calvin Ridley to the Jags, which is a great steal for the Jags, if you ask me.
They have a lot of holes on the offensive side of the ball. And kind of a lot of holes on the defensive side of the ball as well. So
yeah, and then I think they just traded their middle linebacker.
Deion Jones
to the Browns, and then like you said, their offense is just weird because, like you said, their best weapons it feels like they don't even use. So, but maybe that's because they feel like they don't have enough weapons. I don't know. That is weird for me.
Yeah, Arthur Smith, he's I think he's a good head coach at times, and there's also times where I'm like, really? Like, you don't really use Kyle Pitts, who is easily, like, one of the best tight ends in the league already.
Right.
But they don't use him enough to make people think that. He has all the talent in the world. He can block really well, which he's doing all the time. But he has that speed. He has the length. He has the size. I just don't get why they don't let him run routes as much.
Like when he was coming out of Florida, the scouting reports, I actually really wanted him to go to the Eagles because one, he's from Philadelphia, surprisingly, but you see the size, the speed. He's a once in a lifetime tight end. So if you have a once in a lifetime tight end, and everyone is coming out the draft saying this is a once in a lifetime tight end, I would think you would use them. So it's just I don't know. I think Arthur Smith is a good coach. I just think he needs more.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot to work with.
But for what he has, he has done like a nice job.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised so far for the Falcons season with some of the opponents they have beat in the close games they were in earlier in the season. So I think he has done a lot with what he has.
Right.
But there's still some times where I'm like, you might just be a good offensive coordinator.
And there's a lot of times where they get the lead and then they just blow the lead.
That's classic Atlanta
exactly.
fashion.
But, I don't know.
So we'll be right back after this break. This is 90.7 The Capstone.
WVUA-FM, Tuscaloosa.
Hello. Welcome back to 90.7 The Capstone. This is Connor Rowles, and let's continue about our NFL talk. Let's make our upsets and locks for the week. Jaylon, you want to go first?
Oh, giving me the honor. I appreciate it. So my upset, actually, I don't know if you can really, both of these teams I don't think are really that good, but the upset for me is going to be Steelers over the Saints. I feel this is going to be a breakout game for Kenny Pickett. I know it's going to be tough, but Saints actually have a really good defense. If they're healthy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But they're never healthy.
Exactly. So, but I feel like this is going to be one of those games where this is going to be one of his better games. I just feel like it's going to be, for some reason, against the Saints, I feel like young quarterbacks always, like for Hurts, he had a really big game.
Last year.
And I feel like there's another quarterback I'm blanking on right now, but also had a pretty big game against them. But I just feel like it's going to be a breakout game for Kenny Pickett. And then
Steelers also get back T.J. Watt this week, so that's big. So
yeah, so I think it's going to make their defense a bit, it's going to make their team go. Like momentum's going to be up. You get a leader back, a captain. It's going to be, I don't know. For my upset though, I'm sticking with the Justin Fields train. I've been saying it since the start of the season. I'm still high on Justin Fields. I just think it's only his second year, and I'm still just a big believer of letting young QBs figure it out. Just figure it out. And I know he only had 100 yards passing last game, but he broke Michael Vick's record of 158 yards rushing. And I know people are like, "Oh, it's not a big deal." It's you can say that, but they almost beat the Dolphins, and that's what mostly counts. And I know more teams are going to start to figure that out, but if he can still compete and almost have the Bears in a position to win games, that's all that really matters. Of course, over time, he's going to have to learn how to throw the ball. If this was 1998, I'd be really concerned with him throwing 100 yards, but it's only the second year. Give him some more time. But I'm glad that the Bears, you can see that the Bears are okay, I think we found something. And now they're trying to build the offense around him. They brought in pieces like Chase Claypool, which I thought was a kind of a strange move.
It was a very stupid trade, trading a second-round pick for Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool in my book is not worth a second-round pick. I thought that was so weird. But at least they sent him the Ravens second-round pick, so it's not it's one of the lower ones, so it's really kind of like a third-rounder, especially if the Ravens make it that far.
Yeah.
So it's not so bad, and they kept their second pick, so they'll still have a high second-round pick. So I get it from that aspect, but I'm just going to go with the Bears over the Lions because I think the Lions are also starting to slow down a little bit. DeAndre Swift, I don't know what's happening with his injury situation.
Yeah, all of a sudden he just stopped playing.
Yeah, I just traded him away in my fantasy because I couldn't take it anymore. But give me the Bears and give me the Steelers.
Yeah, apparently Justin Fields just decided to be good out of nowhere. So Don't really blame me for that one. So my upset for the week is Vikings over Bills. I'm choosing that partially because Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are both questionable. They might not play. So that's going to be very big for that. The Vikings are a sleeper 7-1 team. Like, no one's really picking them to be your top team in the NFC or in the NFL, but they have the second best record, which is crazy to me.
And they're still not, to your point, like, they're still not, you can tell that they're still not fully there yet. Like, they still haven't figured everything out yet.
Yeah,
especially with TJ Hawkinson just coming over.
Their defense, it's questionable at times.
Right.
But Kirk Cousins, like I said last time, and like I always say, if Kirk Cousins could just play football, they will be a great team.
Mm-hmm.
They have all the weapons they need on offense. It's literally up to Kirk Cousins. So I think that's my upset. I think it could be a really sleeper game if Josh Allen and Stephon both do not play. And even if they do play, I really do think the Vikings will give them a run for their money. And my lock for the week is Giants over Texans. Texans just look horrible. I mean, we all can disagree on that. And also the Giants, they're coming off a bye week, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley is looking really healthy. They got a week to get healthy, except for Xavier McKinney, who broke his hand in an ATV accident on their bye week.
What a wild story. It's always interesting when a player gets injured on like an accident like that, but keep going.
What's it called? Like, yeah, I really don't get how or why, but that might be a big loss, but I still don't think the Texans can really beat them.
What do they have except for Pierce, really?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks doesn't even want to be there. He wants out. He was so mad that they didn't trade him.
Yeah, they lied to him apparently. I'm reading into his cryptic tweets on Twitter, but I think that's what he's implying. Do you think we're done? Like, he's not playing, suiting up for them again ever?
No. Okay. I think he actually might get cut. I'm not gonna lie.
To save some money.
Save some money, and also if he's not going to suit up, you might as well not waste a roster spot and try and pick someone else up. So
yeah, that's true.
That's what I think. So yeah, Giants over Texans.
I'm gonna ask you a question. There's, like you said, the Vikings are a sleeper team, and they are making some noise, but not the noise that you like. Not a lot of noise as. Surprisingly, the Cowboys still get. You still turn on ESPN, the Cowboys are still probably the first.
That's always the Cowboys, though.
Exactly, but they're not 7-1 to my point, like the Vikings are. So my question is: do you have them as a contender? Do you take them seriously as a contender? Are you threatened? If you're an NFL team right now, what's your approach?
So, if I'm an NFL fan besides the Eagles, I am threatened. Yeah. As an Eagles fan, I am not threatened because it's Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. I mean, he can't play the game of football sometimes. So I would be a little worried, having to defend that offense. But the Eagles have best cornerback duo in the league. They have a great safety with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Their pass rush is looking really good this year. And then that can likely stop the Adam Thielen, T.J. Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook kind of offense. But our offense is one of the better offenses in the league. And the Vikings, their defense is... I don't want to say they're bad, but it's nothing it's nothing to be worried about. But other than the Eagles, I would be worried if I was in the NFC because the NFC is very weak this year.
Right.
So I would think the Vikings could not easily, but I think they could beat the Cowboys. I think they could beat the Giants.
So you have them
49ers.
You have them above the Cowboys.
I do.
And
yes.
The 49ers too.
Yeah, 49ers. Okay. It's because. I mean, we asked Kirk Cousins to play the game of football.
Jimmy Garoppolo
is Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G is still I feel like Jimmy G is more playoff built than Kirk Cousins.
We think he's more playoff built than Kirk Cousins because Jimmy G's been in the playoffs and all he can do is hand the football off.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Now that they got Christian McCaffrey, though, now you got more weapons than ever. I mean, Brandon Ayuk is looking good. He's been balling actually. He's been last season he wasn't having a really good season. He was kind of fighting through injury, but this year he looks like a really good receiver, and then especially since Debo's been out. But yeah, I mean Christian McCaffrey's going to be huge for them. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Before, in every single way, like rushing, passing, and
receiving.
Yeah, so
that's the thing with the 49ers though. They have so many great pieces. But you look at their injury history. George Kittle can never stay healthy. Debo has not been able to stay healthy recently. Christian McCaffrey has been injured every year. The only person, Brandon Ayuk, who was battling injury last year, I don't know if I can trust him to stay healthy throughout the entire season. The only one that can stay healthy is Jimmy G, and he's a pretty terrible quarterback, so I'm not really sold on the 49ers just yet.
Yeah, he's definitely, if you ask me to trust which quarterback to throw the ball, it's definitely Kirk, but I think Kirk gets a lot of hate sometimes. I completely agree. There's moments where he definitely freezes up, and it's just like, okay, what is he doing? But I still think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I think he gets kind of is a little bit underappreciated. But you look at some of his numbers, and especially I know he's got Justin Jefferson, but I mean Kirk Cousins can throw the ball, and he's you saw.
You like that?
Exactly. You like that, and like the chain.
I think he has a lot more confidence this year. So I think he's able to play at a higher level because of that confidence. You could see that in the locker room or with all the chains on, because he's never done that before.
Yeah, and then you can tell the whole new vibe now that Mike Zimmer's gone. I think Mike Zimmer really did not like Kirk.
Yeah,
he's been trying to get rid of him, and now you bring in this guy that I think he was worked alongside with, I want to say, was it Washington? I think he might have worked alongside Kevin, their head coach.
Their head coach is Kevin O'Connell, and he was one of the Super Bowl. He was on the Super Bowl team for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he was the offensive coordinator.
No, that's for the Rams. He was a coordinator for the Rams for the Super Bowl.
No, he was on the. Oh wait, no, Rams. Yeah, I'm reading that wrong. You're right.
But I think they had previously worked together. I think when Kirk was in Washington. But I'll look that up real quick. But I'm high on the Vikings. I just think Kirk. It's really, like you said, it comes down to Kirk. But as an Eagles fan, you asked me how I feel about them. We beat them once, and that was nice. But our D line is starting to go down, like with injuries a little bit. So we don't have Jordan Davis, you can actually tell. I actually was not that high on Jordan Davis as an Eagles fan, as a draft pick, but my God, you can actually see the difference he makes when he's not there. He truly is a run stopper.
So, like you were saying, it was crazy. I wasn't a big fan of Jordan Davis on draft night. Well, that's because I wanted a wide receiver.
Right.
I wanted us to draft either Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, or Garrett Wilson.
I wanted Chris Olave.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I don't want to say I was highly upset. It was how he moved to draft to go trenches for the first round. But I wanted a wide receiver because our wide receiver core was really weak. And so at first I was like, oh, this Jordan Davis pick sucks because we need weapons on the outside.
Right.
And then we ended up trading for A.J. Brown. And I was like, that makes this Jordan Davis pick look a lot better than getting Chris Olave or something, because we still got that high-end wide receiver and we got the guy to beef up the middle. Yeah. So I'm a bigger fan after the draft than when it was actually going on.
Yeah, me too. I would probably have to say agree with that as well. And then to add to your point, you know how he's saying, but build the trenches first. And I think talking about that Saints first round pick this year,
that's gonna be big.
That's gonna be it's either gonna be an O lineman. I really think it's gonna be an O lineman, but I think he's probably gonna lean towards edge. I think that's probably what he's gonna go for first, as an Eagles fan.
I think he's gonna go. It's a tough call. He's probably gonna go either corner, safety, or D line. I don't know about edge because we have so much equity at edge position with Hassan Reddick, Brandon Graham.
I think it's going to be because Robert Quinn's. I think he's only signed for the rest of this year.
Yeah, right? He's only signed for the rest of this year.
Brandon Graham's getting old, so I don't think they're going to hold on to that. And then plus, they're still looking for, before the trade deadline ended. I think they were still they were sniffing around I can't say his name, Ndamukong.
Oh, Ndamukong. Yeah, I got you.
But that's just because the injuries adding up. But I just feel like Howie's not a guy to take a skill position in the first round.
No, yeah, I definitely get that. But the only reason I'm saying safety is because our safety depth is looking really, really, really weak right now. Corner, because I don't think we can maintain James Bradbury. I think he's going to want a bigger contract, and I don't know if we can pay him with all the people we're trying to pay this year. And then D-line. I think defensive tackle is going to be a big one because Fletcher Cox has not looked really good recently. Javon Hargrave is on his last year of the deal.
I think we'll resign. I think we'll resign him.
I hope we resign him, but Fletcher Cox is looking his age is really showing, and he's on his also last year of the deal. So I think this is his last year either in the NFL or with the Eagles. So I think we need to go defensive tackle.
I can see that. Yeah, I think it's going to be a defensive player first. I definitely think that. But yeah, I'm interested to see what he's going to do because who knows how he might flip those 2 first-round picks into 4 over the next 6 years or something. I don't know. So
to move on from the NFC to the AFC, let's find. You were talking about how the Vikings are a sleeper team. They've had some pretty good wins, but do we consider the Jets a sleeper team because they beat the Bills? They beat some pretty good opponents.
So. The Jets are a sleeper team, but I don't think they're a contender.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So I actually like the Jets. The Jets, before they drafted Zach Wilson, you could see this coming. They actually had some pieces.
They did have a pretty good defense.
It was just
a sleeper defense, I want to say.
They just had a mess with their head coach, Adam Gates. I think I said the name.
Yeah, Adam Gase.
And then Sam Darnold. I don't even have to go into that. Their offense was just terrible. But you looked at their defense. They actually never really it was okay. You could tell they were a few pieces away from actually having a really good defense. And I think that's what a lot of people are starting to see, because I think they had Marcus May, who's now he's no longer with the Jets. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, he's not. I forget where he is. Let me see.
I think he might be a free agent. I think he tore his. I thought he got injured, and then he's been recovering since. I don't know if he signed somewhere.
He's with the Saints right now.
He's with the Saints. Okay. But yeah, when he was their main guy, their main captain starter, you could kind of tell. And plus, you had pieces like C.J. Mosley sitting out the past couple of years, so you could tell they were just missing some pieces. But now that you see that they're hitting all these first round picks, oh my God, you really got to give them a round of applause for this year's draft, because they killed this year's draft. They got some studs, and it's unfortunate with Breece Hall. Hopefully, they get him back. But my God, Sauce Gardner, he's. If this was Madden, Madden 23, you know how they have the hidden development trait?
Yeah.
And then, he would be the superstar X Factor. He would just be super young, so he's developing right now, but he's a superstar X Factor.
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. They had 3 first-round picks, and, I want to say they hit on 2 of them so far. Jermaine Johnson's still a work in progress, but we expected that.
Right.
He was very raw, but he had all the athletic attributes, the bend, the length, the speed. He just needed to work on his actual moves. So I think he can progress really well for this D-line. But Sauce Gardner looks like a complete stud right now, one of the best corners in the league. Not even rookie corners.
Yeah.
He is very fun to watch, and he's a really great dude.
Perfect for New York.
Really. They needed one. But they hit with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's been pretty good so far.
Dog.
I just don't know how I like Zach Wilson throwing the ball to him right now. But I do love what Garrett Wilson's doing for this team.
It's so awesome because never in a million years would I thought I would be saying they drafted probably 3 studs. Mm-hmm. Breece Hall, they killed that. Great pick. Garrett Wilson, great pick. I think he's probably the best. Him and Olave, as scouted for the draft, are probably the best wide receivers. But we'll see. We'll see when Jamison Williams gets back to full 100%, because before he tore his ACL, people were saying he was the number 1 receiver.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see how he does. He's supposed to be coming back towards the end of December. It's going to be kind of late, but at least he might be able to. Maybe he might be able to get a couple in there. I don't really know. But, Garrett Wilson's amazing. If you don't have him in fantasy, I'd suggest maybe picking him up, because past 3 weeks he's been dropping depends if you're playing PPR, but he's been dropping at least 17 plus. So a lot of people don't even have him picked up. But to your point, Zach Wilson, that's the only thing that makes this team a sleeper. Makes this team a sleeper team and not really a contender, because he plays so reckless and so just But that's the thing. That's what we heard for him as coming out, as a number 2 pick. He said this guy has all the athleticism and he can make these throws, but he doesn't. He's still not fundamentally sound, and he plays like backyard football. He tries to make these throws that you think you can. He thinks he's on Patrick Mahomes' level. He's not, and then also he's not reading the defense close to Patrick Mahomes. What's one thing crazy about Patrick Mahomes? He didn't start reading defenses until he was 25.
He was just that
good, which is crazy. But Zach Wilson, you're not that guy, at least yet.
You're not that guy, pal.
Exactly, you're not that guy. Same. But so if you can, but he's still so young, and you took him number 2. You got to give him more time. And I don't think he's nearly as bad as Sam Darnold.
Yeah, no. Like you were saying, they hit on every draft pick so far. Breece Hall was a 2nd-round pick, and man, that was a great pickup. But Zach Wilson, he has so many flashes of him just slinging. He's such a gunslinger where he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He just throws it, and that works out a decent amount of times, but there's also times where it's maybe you shouldn't be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I feel like if he gets with the right coach.
And I think that's also on Robert Saleh, because you got to remember this is also his 2nd year as a head coach.
He's also a defensive-minded guy, so it's tough with that.
I think he's a good coach. I love Robert Saleh, especially what he's done for this Jets organization. He's definitely kind of changed the culture a little bit, especially so quickly from Adam Gase, which is so nice. But someone needs to get in Zach Wilson's ear, and I don't know if it has to be Robert. They're trying to figure out a way how to do that, but you don't want to kill his confidence. because there's probably like a little bit of an ego, like, and pride, thinking he can make all these passes, and like that's what got him to the second overall pick.
Yeah.
So you don't want to take that away, but you don't want to. You just want to tune it up. That's really what it is. And I think if they tune it up, they won't be a sleeper team. But I don't know why people keep thinking the Jets are a bad team. The Jets aren't a bad team anymore, people. They're winning. It's a new day. Both New York teams are winning. It's crazy.
It's crazy. So this team has a lot of similarities for me with one particular team that made a very, very long run in the 2017 season.
Is it the Eagles?
It's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Really? Okay.
They have a great defense.
Oh, Blake Bortles? Okay.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey?
Yeah. They have a great defense with Jalen Ramsey. They have great corners with AJ Boye, DJ Reed. They have some good safety play. They have a great D-line, which is all relevant right now. Quinn Williams is looking like a really good piece. He's really coming into his own. You look on the offensive side, they had weapons. They had Leonard Fournette, James Robinson now. They had some offensive weapons. Wasn't it DJ Chark on that team? I think so.
DJ Chark on the Jets team?
On the Jags team.
Oh, yeah, no, on the Jags team.
Yeah. And I can't
just kept getting injured, but yeah.
I can't remember who else was on the... Allen Robinson, yes. So they definitely had some weapons. The only thing that was questionable was their quarterback play.
Blake Bortles. I
mean, you look at the similarities. I think it's there. I think they can really make a run.
But even LeBron has bad games.
Don't do that.
That's one of my favorite Blake Bortles quotes. Just like, yeah,
you're not LeBron.
Even LeBron has bad games, but it's so funny. He talks about it, and he's just like, yeah, and he openly admits it, which is so funny. I don't know if he has a podcast that he joins, but Blake Bortles goes, yeah, I just kind of stole money from the Jags. It's kind of cool. I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm sitting here not doing anything, and I got money, and I still played NFL football, so people can hate, but yeah, but that's a really good comparison. I never really thought about it like that, and I'm much higher on Zach Wilson than I am Blake Bortles.
So the only thing that worries me with Blake Bortles, because yes, I think Zach Wilson is a better quarterback prospect than Blake Bortles, but Blake Bortles knew how to take care of the ball.
Okay.
He wasn't. I wouldn't say he had that elite arm talent. He could maybe run a little bit, but he had decent decision making where. Oh, it's open. I throw it. If it's not open, I don't throw it and I take off. The thing with Zach Wilson is I think he thinks he's Patrick Mahomes and he thinks he can make every throw, which he can't, and that might hurt them. But if he can just take care of the ball, I think they can make a very long playoff run.
So you're saying Blake was good enough to like a good game manager.
A decent game manager. I don't know about good, but decent game manager.
Okay. I mean, like, it has to be kind of decent. I mean, they get to the AFC Championship, right? They played the Patriots.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, okay. And they almost beat the Patriots,
which is crazy. I imagine that if Blake Bortles had done that. Do you think Jalen Ramsey would have left if they... That would have shaped the NFL so differently. But I just don't see Jalen Ramsey staying in Jacksonville for his whole career.
No, because he stayed even a couple years after that.
Yeah.
So after that Jacksonville year, everyone played a higher level than they did because it was a lot of like prove-it contracts. So they all got the money they wanted, and a lot of people left. So it ended up like people had high hopes for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it just kind of fell apart because they lost a lot of pieces. And so I think the Jets can actually do something.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see, but I don't know. I'm still high on the Jets, but we'll see what happens.
So we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back after this, and we'll be talking about NBA. This is 90.7 The Capstone. Signing off.
WVUA-FM, Tuscaloosa.
Hello. Welcome back to the student section of 90.7 The Capstone. This is Connor and Jaylon.
We are signed back in.
Yeah, I made a little mistake, but we're all good. We're going to talk about some stuff going on in the NBA season right now. So where do you want to start off at, Jaylon?
That's a good question. Okay, I kind of want to start off with like, I hate to be like ESPN and bring up the Lakers every week, but there's just so much. I'd rather not talk about the Nets too this week, so I'm going to stick with the Lakers. But also because I think this is a little bit more interesting. The Lakers aren't good, and I think we all know that. And we're hearing more reports of Westbrook interests coming about now that he's moved as a sixth man and off the bench.
Which I called. He might win sixth man of the year if he came off the bench.
Yeah, and that would have been a nice pick hopefully if he stays as a sixth man. But I think we really got to start talking about. I think we're going to start hearing more and more news about the Lakers exploring a trade for Anthony Davis. And that's kind of something I wanted to explore. Now, I wanted to get your opinion. If you're the Lakers, what are you looking for in a trade for Anthony Davis? And what are are you trying to rebuild, or are you trying to pivot? Are you trying to trade for a superstar right now? Because apparently the reason they haven't made any trades is because they're waiting for an unnamed mysterious player to become available.
Which I think is Bradley Beal, because I've heard stories that they really like Bradley Beal, and they're waiting for him to be ready to be traded. But I don't know.
Trading? That's what I was saying. My friend's a Lakers fan, and he's ready to move on from LeBron and Anthony Davis, I think, just at this point because of the injuries and everything, and they don't have any trade assets. But I proposed this to him: if you were to offer Anthony Davis for Bradley Beal and Daniel Gafford, their starting center, the offensive center, and would you do that trade? Because you're not going to get I don't think. It's going to be kind of even, so I don't think any first-round picks need to be involved.
Yeah.
If anything, the Wizards might try to get for one first-round pick. But that, I don't really think you need to do that because you're getting Anthony Davis. But then again, you might want to because you don't even know if Anthony Davis is going to stay. Because he's not that far from his contract ending up, and he moved to I think he's always wanted to play for Chicago. But
yeah, his hometown.
But would you do that trade? Because you're getting Bradley Beal, which is a shooter, and you're getting Daniel Gafford. And then if that move gets done, you're definitely trading Russell Westbrook.
So honestly, I would not do that deal if I was a Lakers GM, only because, the Lakers, Wizards just paid him almost
$250, I think.
Almost $500 million. Yeah, so it's I don't know if I really want to make that commitment. He's kind of getting old, and there's been times where he hasn't really been able to stay healthy. And plus, if I was the Lakers, I'm looking to get rid of Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, I don't think he brings a lot to the table. Ever since he got to LA, he's been a lot softer. New Orleans, he was a dominant freak. He could play inside, he could play outside, he could do everything. But when he got to LA, I feel like something changed. He went more for the LA fashion style.
I think I read a stat for every. Because if you watch Anthony Davis, when they're gonna put him in ISO situations because it's Anthony Davis. He's one of the worst NBA players in ISO situations. His numbers have dropped significantly. Now he mostly just settles for these jump shots and they're not falling, and they're far out too. They're not near post up.
They're his 3-point percentage has dropped significantly since he came to LA. Which is crazy because he was a pretty good shooter with New Orleans, and now all of a sudden he's shooting 28% from three. He's settling a lot more for jump shots, and when he gets at the ball in the post, he can't really move anybody. He's always going for his classic fadeaway, which is a very hard shot, and it's not very efficient with him. So he's not really playing like he wants to be there. It's a lot of...
It's he's going through the motions right now.
Yeah, he looks really soft. Defense, I'll still give him defense. He's a pretty good defender. But offensively, I don't see much progression. I see a decline. I think he just needs a new situation.
Is there a trade out there you think that would work for the both of them? Just because a lot of people are saying Bradley Beal. I've heard Jimmy Butler's name been mentioned, but I don't think Miami's giving up on Jimmy Butler.
No, they're not.
I know they definitely need some help with, especially I think Tyler Herro's probably their best player alongside Jimmy Butler right now.
Bam.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about Bam.
So for me, I've heard Kevin Durant thrown out there. I've heard Kyrie. They might want to get out of that situation. So I don't know. But for me, if I was the Lakers, I would trade AD, not for role players.
I can see KD though. Yeah.
But I would trade them for significant starters.
Like the Jazz method.
Like the what?
Jazz method.
Yes, Jazz method, where they don't trade for they trade for young pieces, but they want people that can do multiple things, shoot, be able to take the ball up all the time.
Yeah.
What a trade that I would really enjoy would you say you trade AD? Let's see, who's not looking great right now?
Dude, maybe Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, those people.
Nah,
that doesn't really match LeBron's scheme. Shai Alexander-Gilchrist, that's one. He's balling. I think he might want out of the Thunder scene because he's putting up numbers.
He's putting up numbers right now, but I don't know if the Thunder will really want to take. I think they're in the mode where they're about to get all their draft picks. They're about to hit that level where we might get back soon. So I don't know if they really want to trade all their pieces again for like a star player, which I don't know if I'd really consider him a star anymore.
Tobias Harris?
I don't want him on the Sixers.
I don't want him on the Sixers
either,
but I don't want Tobias either.
So I'm going to have to think about a trade scenario, but I would really love him with what the Pelicans got. They got a lot of good like role players such as like Josh Hart,
CJ.
Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, like players like that.
Oh, you mean like that? Okay,
who can start on that team and make a big impact than one star player.
Hornets? You got Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward.
Ooh, yeah, Kelly Oubre.
Yeah.
That's a team that I would really enjoy him on.
That would be good, especially for the development of LaMelo. Hopefully, I don't think he's back on the court yet. He's still dealing with injury, right?
Yeah, I think he is.
So, but they've actually been competing too, which is actually like as in like Hornets are one of the Hornets and Kings fan. I feel so bad for because they don't deserve it.
I honestly feel bad for the Kings fans because
I mean, but sometimes they do it to themselves. I mean, it's not their fault.
They definitely do.
They definitely do it to themselves. Whereas, I feel like it's Michael Jordan trying to make all these right moves, and he's really just messing it all up. Like, I have no idea what's going on there. I don't get how you hired the same coach that you just fired 2 years ago. Like, they made the playoffs with Steve Clifford, and then they fired him. And then they brought in Borraccio from the Spurs, James Borraccio. Then they didn't make the playoffs. And then they tried to compete for the play-in game, didn't make it, and then they fire him. Try to go for Kenny Atkinson. Then the Warriors win it. Then he says, "Nah, I'm good. I'm staying with Golden State," and which is understandable. So he backs out, and then you don't go, which is so weird. Kenny Atkinson and Mike D'Antoni were the finalists for that Charlotte job, and they went with Kenny Atkinson. But then you do a 360, and you hire your old coach and Steve Clifford, who's a great defensive coach. Well, more of a defensive-minded coach. I won't say great, but which is definitely what that team needs, especially LaMelo. He needs to learn how to play defense.
Yeah.
But that's just strange. And then, like, how do you not hire Mike D'Antoni? Because Mike D'Antoni would be perfect for LaMelo. That fast pace, that's what he plays since Chino Hills. LeVar's been talking about it, just fast-paced basketball. And I feel like Mike D'Antoni would have been a great hire, especially offensively, for this team. And no one questions his mindset as a mind. It's just like everything else they question. But that would have been great for the development of LaMelo. And I think that would have been, they would have figured something out. Because, not to forget, you lost one of your best scorers too, in Miles Bridges. Like, I don't think he's coming back to the Hornets.
Actually, he just beat the case. So.
Right, but I don't think the Hornets are going to touch that situation.
It'll be tough.
Plus, he still wants his money. That's also another thing. Like, that's also
he's not getting his money.
No, not after that. He blew the
He'll
bag.
be lucky to be back in the league.
Yeah, I've never seen someone. Well, not Reggie Jackson. Was it Reggie? No, not Reggie Jackson.
No, it wasn't Reggie Jackson.
Dennis Schroeder. I've never seen two players who fumbled the bag more, Dennis Schroeder or Miles Bridges.
Oh my goodness, that was so bad by Dennis.
Yeah, but I guess that's a trade. I can't see him. I've heard maybe New York too, but I don't really.
They don't have a lot of pieces. I don't think really.
Would you just swap out? Yeah, like Julius Randle? Probably not.
Nah.
Obi Toppin? Probably not. So
send Julius back to L.A.
Yeah, I don't really think there's a lot there, but I don't know. That's a weird thing. And then that whole contract extension for LeBron seemed to really mess him up now.
I feel like he's more looking forward to the future instead of actually playing now.
He's just kind of. I think now he's just playing for the numbers and the legacy at this point, the statistics, and trying to chase Kareem. But one of the things I want to get into is kind of my surprises for this season.
Okay.
And how about the Cavs? Because the Cavs, we seemed after that Donovan Mitchell trade, they were going to take a step up, and we knew they were good last year because they were kind of a surprise team for last year, especially for how young they were. But now coming into this season, they're 8-3 right now. They're behind the Bucks, who only lost one game. But yeah, they if you're asking me, if they're a contender or pretender, they are. They haven't. I feel like they haven't figured it out yet. But I think they're 95% there. I think they're 90%. I'll say 85 to 90%.
I'll say 65%, honestly.
Okay, that's understandable. But I'm just saying, for a team that's already second seed, and I think they're going to get gelled more as the season goes on, because you got to remember, their starting point guard, Darius Garland, just came back.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And so, and I know it's been a few games, but that 1-2 punch looks like a deadly backcourt for Cleveland. So
far in the regular season, though. So
yeah, we'll see what happens because what happens. That's the big question about Donovan Mitchell. He's probably the Kirk Cousins of the NBA. But we'll see what happens. So I'm really surprised about that. And then the Wizards always do this. They're 6th right now. But
last year they were one of the hottest teams in the league, and then they just fell off the face of the planet.
So I feel like that's going to happen again. But for the East, that's just very surprising to me. And then the Jazz being 10-3.
That blows my mind.
Number one, we all thought they were tanking, and like, hey, it's still early, and teams will start to figure it out more, especially like with all the movement that happened this offseason. And I definitely think the Jazz will be sellers at some point during the season because they know they're not going to make any playoff run. Like, I don't think so. Like, what superstar is going to get them to that next step when it gets to the crunch time?
No one. They don't have superstars, but I want to go over what you were saying about the Cavs because you said they're like 90 something like that.
Yeah, 85 to 90%.
I'm not that sold. Okay. I'm sorry. I have a friend who's a Cavs fan, and I keep trying to tell him this. They have a great regular season team, but they're super young head coach. Donovan Mitchell has not been able to do anything in the playoffs. I just don't see them doing anything right now in the playoffs because they remind me of a Jazz team. They have a great center, Jarrett Allen. They have really good young pieces that can really spread the floor. They have a really great young playmaker like Darius Garland. They have Donovan Mitchell. But last year, they couldn't even really make the playoffs besides the play-in. They barely lost to the Nets, who got swept. So I'm just like, when are we going to see a step up from Donovan Mitchell? It's really early in the season. It's easy to start off hot or start off cold. I'm just not quite sold on them just yet. I think they're still pretenders. So that's my opinion on that.
But that's the thing. If I can just counter that real quick, I will say for the Jazz, compared to the Cavs team, compared to that Jazz team, you look at that Jazz team, they have no scores on that team.
I mean, Jordan Clarkson.
That's it.
Joe Ingles.
Joe Ingles is not really
Bogdanovich.
These aren't those are role players, but they're not like bucket getters, except for Jordan Clarkson. Well, that's only if he's inconsistent. And but like you look at this Cavs team, you got scorers and like literally bucket getters and Karis LeVert.
You said inconsistent. One night he put up 40, the other night he put up 1.
But that's
I wouldn't say.
But that's also what I'm saying. I think they're still trying to figure out because Evan Mobley. You look at Evan Mobley, he's not even getting as many touches as he used to. So it's like he's in the Chris Bosh phase right now, trying to figure out his role. But I feel like Darius Garland's a bucket getter.
Yeah, he is.
He's but like I said, he gets other people's going too. So I feel like he just has more support now than ever because. If you look at that team, the Jazz team, they only had Gobert. Oh my God, sorry.
Rudy Gobert.
I'm starting to get Dallas in the back of my head.
Oh my goodness.
That's why I'm trying not to do that again. But so they only had Rudy Gobert and Jordan Clarkson, and Rudy's not a scorer. He's messing up the Timberwolves. He's like
we'll get after that after you finish this because I have something to say about that.
And then so I'll keep it short, but they had no scores on that team, and if Jordan Clarkson's your second help, you're not making it.
Yeah,
that's my point.
So, like you mentioned, Rudy Gobert. Let's talk about that trade so far, because oh my God, man, I expected it to not look good, but this does not look good at all. 5-7, 10th seed. They have Cat and Rudy Gobert. Honestly, I said this at the beginning when they first made their trade. And it's looking like it. It's looking like the Philadelphia 76ers when they got Al Horford.
Yep.
They have two bigs, the Twin Towers.
You're right.
Who, great defensively, not both of them. Cat's a terrible defender, but Cat's a great shooter.
Terrible.
Rudy Gobert's a great defender. And they have like D'Lo, Ant, and all, either Jaden McDaniels or Kyle Anderson, who... Slow-mo. But look at the Sixers. They had... Ben Simmons, who we know how Ben Simmons is.
He shall not be mentioned again.
J.J. Redick, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, and Joel Embiid. You have the two Twin Towers who could not space the floor because Al Horford, he couldn't score when he was at the Sixers, so it was pretty ugly to watch.
That was his worst career year ever, which is so funny. Of course, that happens when he comes to Philadelphia. And of course, our GMs give him a max deal. I don't even want to get into
That's why Elton Brand stepped down.
Yeah, that's why they had
and became a co.
It's so funny because he actually wasn't doing that bad of a job. I don't feel like the only thing he should have stopped at the Jimmy Butler trade, but this is literally he gave up way too much. But that's another thing. But and the fact that he chose Tobias over Jimmy Butler is also
crazy to me.
But the real reason, I don't know if you heard that.
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, because Ben Simmons was complaining about not having the ball in his hands. Well,
classic Ben Simmons.
Maybe he should have learned how to shoot.
Or maybe just practice.
Or just keep setting screens because that's
do
all you
something
do now. We're about to...
Sorry. I have a lot of
the Phillies coming
past trauma.
But to your point, like, dude, they're messing up Anthony. Well, it's like we talked about before earlier in the season. Anthony Edwards is clearly the guy on this team.
Yeah.
He is the franchise. It's not Karl Anthony Towns. He's number 2. You looked at what he's done since now. It's clear that he's not the guy. You're not the guy that bow. But Anthony Edwards, he's not even getting to the lane anymore because the spacing is gone. He can't. I think I read a stat that he hasn't dunked once, or maybe has dunked one time up until 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago.
Everything's so clogged,
and he can't. He's looking for Jason Tatum when he started pulling up for all these contested mid-range jump shots, and you can see that this was not worth 5 first-round draft picks for the team.
It wasn't at all. And the Jazz got a huge steal.
Exactly, and you can tell. And those might all be high draft picks for the Jazz too. So, and if they keep getting high draft picks, who knows? They might trade up for Victor, but we'll see. But it's a first-time GM from coming over from the Denver Nuggets, who worked under the assistant GM for the Denver Nuggets, working under the general manager for them. I forget his name, but. Which is so funny because they did a great job with that Denver team, and now him coming over here to Minnesota, what was that? It's so bad. That's a terrible way to start your career.
I think they're just looking for names.
Yeah, so I think they set their franchise back and they don't even realize it. I honestly think they have to trade Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. I think that's the best way to go forward with this franchise.
It sucks because I think they traded one of their main pieces that got them to the playoffs and that far, which is Patrick Beverley. It's crazy to say, but he was like the heart and soul, the person that kept the team together. He was the defensive guy. He could score at times, and they thought, oh, let's get Rudy Gobert. That's a smart decision. Let's trade him away. And it's just not looking great, but I don't know.
It's always been a mess. I feel so bad. And then, I don't know. I've never been a fan of their head coach isn't bad, but I've never been truly a fan. I thought last year in that playoff series that their head coach also got exposed. He made some questionable rotational calls, and he never, when they were struggling, he never called a timeout. He just let his team go down more in deficits. He never switched rotations, and you can see how that's still carrying over to this season.
Yeah,
especially after that trade. But hopefully they figure it out. Last thing I just want to say, I know you said you had Luka for MVP. He's balling out his mind right now.
Averaging 35 points a game. Don't say any other name for MVP or you will get backlash.
I'm going to make a case. It's not going to happen, but Damian Lillard just shouted.
All right, guys. I think that'll wrap up the student section. This is 90.7 The Cap Zone. We will see you next Friday.
WVUA-FM, Tuscaloosa.